Guys, welcome back to Living the Gandy Life. Today I want to talk to you about our homeschool schedule. Now I hold the term homeschool schedule very loosely because in our family it is more like a routine or a rhythm. We don't really hold to like between 8 and 9 we do this, and 9 and 10 we do this, and between 10 and 11 we do this. Instead, we have more of a generalized routine that we follow each day. We have found that the consistency kind of gives our kids a sense of security because they know what to expect from day to day. And I think that kids really do thrive on knowing what to expect. So if you have kids like mine where they want to know what's next and what's after that, you might benefit from having a similar routine instead of a set timed schedule. Personally, for our family, we could not have a set time schedule because the moment that I fell behind or I went over, again, I'm going to feel stressed because I'm already behind. What am I going to do? How am I going to make up that time? I'm already behind. I feel so stressed, right? So instead of having a set time schedule, we just go from one thing to the next and we follow that same routine day to day. So let me tell you about our personal routine. And it's really nothing fancy. It's probably what most everyone is doing. But we wake up, we have breakfast. While I'm cleaning up from breakfast, my kids are watching cartoons. Okay, I know that's a hot topic. And I know some people don't let their kids watch cartoons or TV before the school day. But honestly, my family is not a wake up, chipper, ready to go for the day morning. And we have found that cartoons, just even for a half an hour, allow them to wake up slowly and not be bombarded with everything that they have to do. They just kind of unwind slowly, if you will. My kids know that after breakfast and as we are getting ready for the day, that the TV goes off, and they have come to know this as part of our routine. But we're starting our day around 9 o'clock. And that's usually the start of our school day. Now, some days we get dressed and some days we stay in our pajamas. I know some families really love to wake up, have everyone get dressed and be ready for the day. We're not one of those families. And to each his own, it's totally okay if you like to, and it's totally okay if you want to stay in your pajamas. You can do whatever you feel like is best for your family. Especially in the winter months when it is cold in Ohio and we know that we're not going anywhere, I like to save myself a little less, or save myself from doing all the extra laundry, and we just stay in our pajamas, and that's okay. So obviously, if we are changing, great. If we're not, that's okay. We start around 9 o'clock. And that's kind of a rough time. We're not set like it's 9 o'clock, we must start now. It's just generalized time. Sometimes we start a little before, sometimes we start a little after. But when we start, we do start with our morning basket time. If you're unfamiliar with this, I do have a video of what I include in our morning basket time, but it is our Bible, our read alouds, our grammar work, our science, history, poetry, and art. We do this together as a family in our living room. I'm sitting on the couch, the kids are either on the couch or on the floor, and that's what we start out with. Everyone's doing their age-appropriate work or listening as their level ability allows them to. Now, our morning basket time usually lasts between 30 and 45 minutes. So roughly ending around anywhere from 9:30 to 10. And after we're done with our morning basket time, this is when we kind of split off to do our age appropriate, our level, our independent work, where we're all working separately and they're needing one-on-one time with me. At this point, I am either sending my younger two sons to go and do their independent work where they're doing maybe some copy work or some math facts, anything that they are able to do themselves without me having to be by their side. Or I am sending them to help entertain my youngest. My daughter Eden is a mischievous mess maker, and sometimes she just needs a playmate to keep her within check. So sometimes their job is to entertain her and to play with her and keep her from making a lot of messes. So at that point, I send them either to do their independent work or to go play with Eden. Now, during this time, I'm working with my oldest son, Gabriel. He is going into 5th grade. And when we have our one-on-one time together, we first start out by going over yesterday's lessons. I'm going to grade any work that he has done. We're going to go over any errors, fix any problems that we've missed. And that's usually how we start our time. After that, we go into that day's lessons. I'm going to go over his math lesson, any language lessons, and I'm going to answer any questions that he has over those lessons. Once I'm done with that, I really do send him on his way and he goes and does his work independently. Now, that does not mean that if he has questions, he does not come find me. He certainly does, but we are trying to work with him to get him to do his work independently. So I go over the lessons and I kind of send him on his way. Now, once I am done with Gabriel and I've sent him on his way, that's when I head to find my middle two boys. And if they were working on their independent work, I kind of assess, okay, who's finished, who's ready for me? Obviously, I've got two boys who need me to go over their lessons, and there's only one of me. So it's not always fair. Some days this one wants to go, some this one wants to wait. Sometimes we just have to say, I did you first yesterday, I'm going to do your brother first yesterday. It's not always the most glamorous way of handling it, but we kind of fly by the seat of our pants some days based on who needs me, who's ready, or who's willing to wait. Now, at this point, I'm going to go over the math lesson with one of them. So whoever has decided to go first, I go over their math lesson. And I kind of turn them loose to do maybe their math fact worksheet or the worksheet for that day's lesson. Now, we're obviously working in this schoolroom here, so I'm not far from either child at any point. But once I've done the lesson with one, then I kind of turn and I do the lesson with the next child, where I'm going over the lesson and then I turn him loose to do his own math worksheet. Now, once we've finished math with both, that usually takes us up to our lunch hour, at which point I'm going to leave both of the middle boys to finish their math lesson, and I'm going to head to the kitchen to work on prepping lunch for everyone. So lunch usually lasts anywhere from 12 to 12:30, maybe 1. I usually give them 10 to 15 minutes to play with Legos or cars or whatever they're into for that season. And then we go back to the schoolroom. Now, at this point, we're moving into our age-appropriate language arts lessons. So again, maybe if one got to go first with math, then I'm doing the other one first for language arts. But it's the same process. I'm going to do the lesson with them, turn them loose to do their worksheet, then I'm going to head to the next child and I'm going to do their lesson and then let them work on their language arts worksheets again. Again, I'm no more than 5 feet away from either of them at any time, so I'm able to answer any questions that they might have. Now, in the past, we've normally finished around 2:30, around in that time frame where we're done with all of our work. We're free to play, go outside, explore, do anything that maybe is our personal interest. Now, this year is the first year that I am adding my youngest, and you just heard me mention her to be my mischievous mess maker. So I am adding Eden. She is going to be in preschool. We're doing very basic things with her. We're just going to be doing some activities over learning our letters and the sounds that they make, and learning our numbers, and doing some just fun activities that we'll call math, but we're just playing with different manipulatives and things like that. So this is my first year to add her into everything. And honestly, I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to handle adding in a fourth child. I have debated whether or not I should put her first and give her my first attention, or if I should let her play and then add her to be last. Honestly, I have not figured this out yet. So obviously adding her in is going to make our day probably last a little bit longer, but I'm not sure. I have not yet homeschooled 4 kids at this point. So as you can see, we don't have a set time schedule. We just have a rhythm and a routine that we follow. When one thing is done, we move on to the next thing. My kids always know what to expect, what's going to be coming next, and they just kind of go with the flow. Now, one thing I want to point out is because we don't strictly hold to a time schedule is, in our morning basket time, sometimes that adds to really good conversation and really good discussion. And if I held to we're only going to do morning basket time from 9 to 10, and we're having a good discussion, and I'm like, oh, it's 10 o'clock. We got to cut it off. We got to move on to math. I could miss out on some really good opportunities to have really good discussion and really good connection with my kids. That's one reason why we don't hold to a time constraint or a schedule. Sometimes things just need to get pushed back. Maybe we won't start math until later, and maybe we won't get all of our language arts done. That's okay. Sometimes It will happen. And sometimes it's okay to push things till the next day. Or maybe you have to do a little bit of school on a Saturday. That's totally okay. We definitely want to nurture those discussions and those relationships with our kids. And I think that's great about just having a rhythm or a routine. We just don't want to allow ourselves to become slaves to the schedule where we're missing those opportunities to have those good conversations, those good discussions with our kids. So let me know what works for you guys. What do you use? Do you have a strict time schedule that works for you guys? Do you follow a rhythm or a routine? Does it work well to get math first, or do you have to leave math to the end? Let me know what works for you guys. Also, if you have recently or have ever added in a fourth child into your homeschool routine, please let me know what has worked for you and your family. I'm a little intimidated of how I'm going to add Eden into our day. So if you have any questions or any comments, please let me know, guys. And until next time, have a blessed day.